Okay. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. How many of you have ever sprained your ankle? Okay. If you have, we definitely have something in common. My family, including me, was blessed with the trait of horrible ankles. Between my brother, sister, and I, there's probably been around 20 sprained ankles in the past 10 years. With that amount of sprained ankles, you could be sure that me and my family got really good at treating them. In this speech, I'd like to highlight the 4 main steps in ankle treatment. According to orthoinfo.org's website, which was published on February 1st, 2016, there's an acronym for these 4 steps. RICE, which stands for Rest, Ice, Compression, and Elevation. In order to properly treat a sprained ankle, you need to know what a sprained ankle is. A sprained ankle is when one or more ligaments on the outer side of your ankle are stretched or torn. Sprained ankles are very common injuries. According to American Orthopedic Foot and Ankle Society, around 25,000 people sprain their ankle every day. The first time I ever sprained my ankle, I remember I was playing basketball on an outdoor court my freshman year with slip-on shoes. I jumped and landed like this. Yeah. As you can see in the image, it doesn't look very fun. The symptoms are acute pain, tenderness, joint swelling, joint movement, muscle spasms, and muscle atrophy. All of these symptoms are very recognizable if you ever sprain your ankle. Going home to my family of bad-ankled people, they knew exactly what to do. Which brings me to my first point, rest. Getting off your feet is the best thing you could do for sprained ankle treatment. This will allow your body to spend more time and energy in repairing the damaged ligaments. WebMD.com's website, Ankle Sprain Treatment Overview, states that the best way to get from place to place may be using crutches. The second step in treatment is ice. It may be painful at first, but it will be so worth it. Icing helps reduce swelling and inflammation in the ankle joints. According to MayoClinic.org, published March 5, 2015, a person should ice their ankle for at least the first 24 to 72 hours after the injury occurs, or until swelling goes down. You should apply in 15 to 20 minute increments for every hour or so. The best way to ice your ankle is to put crushed ice in a Ziploc bag, get all the air out, and this will help it conform to your ankle better. The third step is compression. It also helps reduce swelling and inflammation. Ace bandages like the one here are great for wrapping your ankle. You should keep your ankle wrapped for the first 24 to 36 hours after injuring. Wrapping ankles not only reduces swelling, but it also helps stabilize the injury. The fourth step is to elevate your ankle above your heart. The key to this is so that the blood doesn't rush to your ankle and cause bruising and swelling. If this step is skipped, your ankle will be super bruised and super swollen and kind of look like this. That's what mine has looked like a few times. In this speech, I wanted to show you guys how to treat a sprained ankle. Many of you will probably sprain your ankle sometime in the future, and knowing the RICE acronym will be very helpful and it will come in handy. The 4 simple steps of rest, ice, compression, and elevation will help your ankle become good as new before you know it.